Today I'm going to be looking at the finest film camera ever made by Canon. In fact, it's probably one of the finest film cameras made by any manufacturer. The Canon T90. Before the T90 arrived, cameras looked like this. This is my old Canon A1. The Canon T90 had a new revolutionary design which set the standard for camera design for many years to come. Its ruggedness earned it the nickname the Tank. It felt great in the hand, it was fast, responsive, and was packed full of technology and features. There was just one small problem. When the Canon T90 arrived, it was basically dead on arrival. In the last 40 years, technology has moved so quickly that new technology soon makes old technology obsolete. LED TVs made CRT TVs obsolete. Digital cameras made film cameras obsolete. The reason that the T90 was almost dead on arrival was the same reason I bought one. Since 1982 I'd been using a Canon A1 with an FD mount, which was manual focus and needed a spare body. Buying a T90 meant that I could get a technology upgrade and still be able to use all my FD lenses, so it seemed a good idea. But it was still manual focus, and already, even before the T90 arrived, Canon had started getting into autofocus lenses. The T80 was also an FD mount camera, but there were three special lenses with a rudimentary autofocus system that would allow people to autofocus. So before the T90 even arrived, people were starting to think about autofocus. The T90 arrived in 1986, and in 1987 Canon introduced its EF mount, which is still current today, and that really killed off manual focus lenses. The net result was that within a year of being introduced, the T90 was basically dead. The future for photography was autofocus, and this was a manual focus camera. Regardless, there's been a bit of a renaissance in recent years with film photography and manual focus cameras and lenses. So my plan today is to take a bit of a close look at the fantastic Canon T90. The first thing to talk about is batteries. Unlike modern digital cameras, the T90 doesn't use a rechargeable battery. It simply uses 4 AA batteries. I use Eneloop, which are rechargeable, but if I were to run out of battery power in the field, I could simply go to a nearby shop and buy ordinary AA batteries. Very easy, very convenient. Once your batteries are in, you can check by first turning the camera on. There's a slide switch at the back which uses the standard Canon nomenclature of L for off and A for on. So turn the camera on, open this little door which Canon calls a palm wing, and there's a button with a battery symbol. Press that and you'll see BC and 1 to 3 bars. If you've got 2 or 3 bars, the battery's fine. If you've got 1 bar, your battery's getting low and it needs to be changed or replaced. I've got 2 bars, so that's fine. Once you're happy about power, you need to decide which mode you want to shoot in. So we press the mode. There's a mode button on the left and a dial on the right, and that will toggle between aperture priority, shutter speed priority, bulb, so the shutter remains open for as long as you press the shutter button, P, and program. Program is fully automatic. With the P you get some more options. If you put it in P mode and turn the dial again, you'll see wide, P1, P2, P3, and tele, P1, P2, P3. The reason is that when it's in fully automatic mode, the camera doesn't know which lens you've got on the camera. So if you've got a long telephoto lens, I've got quite a long 300 lens on at the moment, it might give you a slow shutter speed and then you'll get camera shake. So in P mode, if you tell it tell it to go into one of the tele modes, it will make sure that your shutter speed is fast, and then you won't get any camera shake. The metering system on the T90 was the thing that really set it apart from previous cameras. To change the metering mode, press the metering button on the left and then turn the mode dial. It will toggle between centre weighted, where it looks at the whole scene but just gives more of a more emphasis on the scene in the middle. Partial, where it just looks at part of the scene, and spot metering, where it only looks at a very small percentage of the scene in the middle. There's also a really nice feature on here in spot metering, using this little button here. Using this button, you can take a spot meter reading of one part of a scene, then move the camera, press it again, and take another spot meter reading. And the camera will automatically average out the readings, and you can do it up to 9 times. So if you've got quite a difficult scene where there's different lighting across the whole scene, this is a very easy and automatic way of getting an average. If you want to change the exposure compensation for every shot, there's a exposure compensation button on the back. That's set at neutral at the moment. You can just move that to get a plus or minus compensation. The metering on this camera is really amazing. The next thing to look at after the exposure mode and the metering mode is the drive mode. These things are all controlled by buttons and dials within the palm wing. So if I put the little lever to SC and then press the yellow button, it will toggle between single shot, high speed continuous and low speed continuous. I normally just use it on single. If I want to use the timer, I turn the dial to the little clock symbol and again press the yellow button to toggle between 2 and 10 seconds. With my old A1, I had to do everything manually. I had to load the film manually, advance the film manually, unload the film manually, and there was no power drive. If I wanted automatic film advance or power drive, I had to buy an accessory to put on the back of the camera. With the T90, everything's in the camera, and it uses a really advanced system which I believe involves 3 motors, and the reason it does this is to keep the power consumption down as low as possible. The whole camera is just really well thought out and a fantastic piece of engineering. Just a few more things to mention. On the back there's an ISO button, and as with everything else in this camera, you press the button and then turn the mode dial to adjust it. It actually sets the ISO automatically from the film canister, but you can change it. You might want to push your film by using a different ISO value on the camera to what the film actually is. Also, if you press the ISO button and the exposure compensation button at the same time, the camera goes into safety shift mode. With my old A1, if I had the camera set up to the wrong exposure so that it couldn't actually expose the film properly, it would flash in the viewfinder, but it would still let me take the shot and it would be wrongly exposed. With the T90 in safety shift mode, it won't let you do that. It will, if you've got it set wrong, it will change the exposure settings to properly expose the film. Obviously, if you're deliberately trying to take a shot with the wrong exposure, you don't want it on. But if you've just set the camera up for a bright scene and you don't change anything, then you go into a dark scene where it's going to wrongly expose the film, safety shift can be a good thing. Also on the top, if you press the mode button and the metering button at the same time, it will go into multiple exposure mode. On my old A1 there was a little lever underneath the film advance lever. So if I move the little lever and then did the film advance lever, it would just cock the shutter without advancing the film, so I could get multiple exposures on the same piece of film. I hope this brief overview of the Canon T90 has given you an idea of what the camera is like. When I got mine, the intention was just to use it as a backup for my A1. But when I got it, I fell in love with it so much that I never used the A1 again. It's a wonderful camera. In some ways, I feel sad that such a great camera was made obsolete shortly after its announcement because of the advances in autofocus. But it left a legacy. The basic design, a lot of the features were used in many cameras that followed. If you started to get into film photography and you get a chance to buy a good used T90 at a reasonable price, go for it. It's a wonderful camera, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed.